Okay. So what to expect from this environment module? See, if you are studying by yourself, environment book, there is a very high chances that you just want to cram things. Environment is coming from directly from biology branch of science. It's a scientific discipline. It has concepts. It has theories which needs to be understood. Once you understand the basic theories, then only you will be able to grasp the current affairs also very well. Vice versa is not possible if you are just reading PT 365 or not even PT 365, even summaries of that. Do you expect that you will be able to get more than 50% marks in environment? Impossible. But if your foundation is clear, if your base is clear, then there is a huge probability that whatever current affairs you will read, you will be able to understand it. You won't need to cram it. You won't need to ratify it. Everything. There are some things which we need to ratify, like IUCN status, etc. That's a different story. But try to understand the concept. So these classes will try to develop that concept in you, and that too in quick manner, not taking a lot of time because your time is valuable. In 60 minutes, I will cover the amount of things which you, if you will study, you will be taking at least 6 7 hours. So that is how it is reducing your time also, because it is very, very important. And we have divided the syllabus in a manner that is interconnected. The first concept will be interconnected with second. And we have taken things directly from your basic sources, Shankar, PMF, so that you are not feeling that something extraordinary I am saying, which you have not read. So that you are feeling familiar. It is a psychological method. If you are familiar from any of the sources, you will be able to grasp it more easily. That is why I often say that don't change sources. If you often change sources, you will not be able to take maximum out of one source. So this is the thing which you can expect from these classes. Now, it will start from the very basic. Very basic. What is environment? After all, we all are studying environment. What is environment? It is the sum total of your surrounding. No? Whatever is natural, what is human made, that is influencing our human body. There is oxygen which is influencing our human body. There will be soil which will be influencing our human body. Sky is influencing our human body. Artificial things are also influencing, which we say it often chemicals. Chemicals are anthropogenically also generated and naturally also evolves. So all of that is collectively, there is a word which is called as environment. It has come from a French word, environ, that means around, surrounding you. Any species in this world is surrounded by environment. It shapes your growth, your health, your interactions with different factors, everything, your behavior, everything is shaped by the environment. And then what is habitat? We all species in this world are living at a particular place, a natural place where we feel not that we are growing naturally, we are not out of our place, we have our food there, we have our water there, we have shelter there, which helps us to grow, and space. Many habitats together make up the environment. Humans have a habitat, fishes have a habitat, tigers have a habitat. All together, when habitats are joined, it is called as environment. Now, an environment has many habitat. All habitats are environment, but all environments are not habitat. What does it mean? Environment, mein, there are so many places where there is no habitat. Nobody lives there. It is also possible. So it can be said that all habitats are environment, but all environments are not habitat. This is something which you need to understand. There are few things, assertions which will come. And this is how UPSC also frames questions. They know that you are not conceptually clear. And that is why in mains also, the number of questions which are coming from static is increasing steadily from 2018. Now, what is an ecosystem? what is an ecosystem. An ecosystem is a community of living organisms like plants, animals, and as small as microorganisms. We all are interacting with each other. Animals are interacting with plants are interacting with microorganisms are also interacting with animals. This together, this interaction between different living organisms and their non-living environment, that is air, water, soil, sunlight, is called as ecosystem. Now there are different types of ecosystem which we will one by one read. So mainly there are two types of ecosystem which are further subdivided. One is aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic means the ecosystem which is in the water, and terrestrial which is on the land. Now, in aquatic ecosystem also there are further two subdivision. One is freshwater, second is marine ecosystem. Now, freshwater ecosystem also is divided into three main parts. Lentic means steady, slow, and lotic means flowing water. Wetlands are those areas which are sort of transitional. That is why when we will study wetlands are hugely important. Whenever there will be transition, see, transitions shapes organisms which are far more diverse and adaptable. That is why their presence is very much needed. When we'll study wetlands, we'll go very deep into it because it is very important. Every year, wetlands and conventions and species related to wetlands are favorite. The Ramsar Convention is also related to wetland only. If you're just cramming the names of individual wetlands and characteristics, it won't help. You have to study first wetland, why it is important. And there will be a mains question as well on wetland. In terms of marine ecosystem, no, there are no, vast size of oceans and seas. What is the basic difference between a freshwater and marine ecosystem? The basic difference is the quantity of salt that is there in freshwater and marine ecosystem. And this the tolerance of salt also divides further the organisms. Some organisms are more tolerant to salt, some are not that much tolerant to salt. That is why if you will see, crocodiles also subdivided based on the tolerance to salt. Now we have different types of crocodiles. One who lives in the fresh water in the Ganges, etc., is called as Gadial. We have Magar as well. So this is how now every thing is influencing our behavior. Darwin had said this, that whatever change that happens in the environment, slowly it also evolves our organs. Now, I had talked in one of the classes about Snake Island. So, the snake's venom was of high intensity. Why so? Because there was no other organism, just birds. Now, they had to kill in a very short span. They cannot wait for 2 hours when the birds will die. So the venom slowly increased to such an intensity that birds used to die within seconds. So it is because of the evolutionary process, as said by the Charles Darwin. Then we have terrestrial ecosystem. We have forest, we have grasslands, we have mountains, we have deserts. Now, if you see the components of ecosystem, there are biotic components and there are abiotic components. Both are interacting with each other. In terms of the biotic components, we have some groups which are called as producers because they are producing energy. We give a lot of importance to plants. Why so? Because plants are producing energy which is getting transferred to the higher trophic level. Now, we also talk a lot about bacteria. Even in if you see our human body, we have lakhs of bacteria, which are further divided into two parts. One is called as good bacteria, one is called as bad bacteria. And that is why you will see that often doctors say that go and eat probiotic. Your gut health is very important. Gut health is dependent on the amount of good bacteria that is there in your gut. Gut is called as second brain. Why it is so important? Because it helps to break down now your food and get out of that nutrition The nutrition which you say, protein, vitamin, magnesium, everything, micro and macronutrients. That is why it is important. So it has ability to produce. That is why they are also producers. That is why they are also producers. Or if you see, our human body itself is a sort of a factory. It has so many things which self-regulate. Our liver also self-regulate, and bacteria play a very vital role in it. Chemotroph is another producer. Chemotroph is an organism that derives its energy by oxidation process. Oxidizing inorganic or organic chemical compounds. This process is also called as chemosynthesis. This process is called as chemosynthesis. Okay. There are compounds like ammonia. You must have heard about nitrogen cycle. Now we have bacteria now which does ammonification, denitrification. There are so many bacteria. Okay, breakdown of sugar, producing ATP. All of this process is called as chemotrophs. Now, okay. So this is also chemosynthesis is the actual word. Photosynthesis, chemosynthesis. Photosynthesis is done by plants in the presence of sunlight. Okay. Consumers who are dependent on producers: herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, and detrivores. Detrivores are nothing but now things which break down the dead leaves, dead body. Okay, herbivores are now many of the humans are still herbivores. Many are omnivores because they eat both plants and other animals as well. Some are hardcore carnivores. They do not eat leaves. Okay, so based on that, there is a you must have heard read in sixth class, seventh class. Abiotic components: light, soil, water, temperature, and climate. All of this is regulated by one energy that is detrimental to all the lives in the planet. What is that? That is sunlight. Sunlight is extremely important. It regulates everything on earth. All the energy that is deriving one from one form to another is regulated by sunlight. Whether it is plants, whether it is the oceans, no oceanic energy, no, because moon doesn't have anything. Moon is just reflecting. Okay. So everything on earth, if sun is not there, there will not be any life on earth. Sun is very important. Sun's presence is something which is regulating everything on earth. Now, ecology. What is ecology? Ecology is just a branch of science that studies it, that studies the relationship between how living organisms is interacting with the environment, how they are interacting with one another, how they are interacting with plants, how they are interacting with soils, how they are interacting with now abiotic things like soil. So this is the branch which is called as ecology. Like physics studies all those universal laws and laws of motion. Same is ecology. Okay. Now, if you see, there is another term. Terms has to be very clear. The term is biodiversity. As the term indicates, bio and diversity. So bio means the living organisms. Diversity means the variety. So the variety of living organism, whether it is plants, animals, microorganisms that are found in a specific area. If I have to talk about the biodiversity of Rajasthan, that means the variety of living organisms, plants, animals, microorganisms that are found in that particular area. This is called as biodiversity. Second term is biome. Biome is different because it is a large geographical area where the climate is distinct, vegetation is distinct, and animal life is distinct. See, obviously, in a large geographical area, only the characteristics will be unique in terms of the climate, vegetation, animal life. It is not possible in a very small area, no, to regulate, because if any environment is there, they have to self regulate as well. To have self regulation, they need all the abiotic components. So that is why it is only possible in a vast geographical area. This is called as biome. Biosphere is the part of Earth that supports life. This is the part of Earth where life is possible. Community is what? We often say in a community center. What is community in terms of environment? That is a group of different species, like we are living, dogs are also living, cats are also living, and we are interacting also in the same area. Then this is a community, a group of different species living and interacting in the same area. This is called as community. There can be different community, forest community, pond community, and different types of community can be there. Then there is a term called as population. So a group of individual of same species, it cannot be different species, living in a specific area, and they are capable of interbreeding. They are capable of interbreeding. So if a population of deer is living in a forest or a population of fish in a lake, it can be called as population. So this is the definition of population. Ecotone, which is very important, all the ecotone areas are naturally more biodiverse, and the conventions that you will see around you, the conventions have been shaped to safeguard this. Most of the conventions have been made to safeguard these areas are called as ecotone. So it is a kind of a transition zone between two different ecosystems, and in this transition zone the species from both ecosystem exist. That is why there will be high biodiversity. Often you must have read that mangroves are very important for environment, mangroves are detrimental. So mangroves are nothing but an ecotone between the marine ecosystem and terrestrial ecosystem. That is why there is huge diversity in a mangroves. That is why it is said that mangroves have to be secured. Then there is a term which is called as ecocline. So ecocline, ecotones are how different? Ecocline means gradual change, and gradual change is happening when you say, for example, you are traveling from a Gangetic Valley and you are moving towards desert. Desertification will not happen all at a once. It will happen gradually. When you travel from Delhi, you move towards Agra, you will feel that the Agra is more dustier than Delhi. Slowly, this will increase. The environment will become such that days will become hotter and hotter, and night will become cooler. So this will happen gradually. All of a once not, Thar will come. This process is called as this term is called as ecocline, and everything is happening gradually. But in ecotone, things happen all of a sudden. So that is the basic difference between ecotone and ecocline. A gradual change in the composition of species ecosystem across a geographic gradient. It is not all of a sudden or abrupt change. Okay, this is a gradual shift. If you see, the vegetation from a grassland to forest will not be abrupt, it will change slowly. When from grassland to forest you will move slowly, the species will gradually change, the soil moisture will gradually change. This is called as ecocline. Now niche. So we all species have our place where we live, have our peculiar food that we eat, have our where, how, and when, our reproductive behavior, our temperature where we feel now that we are in our place, landscape where we can live, slope where we can live, humidity and other requirements where we can live. This typically unique functional role and position that we all species have been assigned is called as niche. This is called as niche, and it is often used in English as well. And niche means, okay, what is your unique thing? What is one thing where you are probably the best, and this thing is coming naturally to you? One of the thing which was said by Einstein that what is your niche? To identify that, what is one thing which majority of people find hard but you find it easy? That is your niche. In terms of English, we use it. In terms of environment, also, a peculiarity, a uniqueness that a species has in terms of it can be habitat, food, reproduction, process, how and why, and your temperature, land shape, land slope. That is called as niche. Now, edge effect. So we were studying about the ecotone. So what happens in some species in those ecotone areas? They show increase in population density. This is called as edge effect, and those species which shows the increase in population density in ecotone areas are called as edge species because they are more abundant there. Okay, they are more abundant there. This is a good diagram which we have taken from PMFIS. They have taken from Shutterstock. So this is the how the different no uh, see the variation in terms of when latitudinal zonation is there, when height changes, this is the types of vegetation which you can see. So latitude, there is a broadleaf evergreen forest. You must have read about Amazonian forest. Yep. Broadleaf evergreen forest where long trees are there. Smaller trees are not even able to survive. There is a huge diversity also. Then comes the tropical grassland. Must have read about savanna, etc., where big elephants, etc., live. Then desert is there. Then desert scrub. See, the gradual change is happening. Okay. Then we have temperate grassland, deciduous for this is the topic of geography. Just for revision, you can revise from here. Okay. Mixed forest, then coniferous forest, tundra, and ice caps. Why this change is happening? This change is happening mainly because of two reasons. One, the amount of rainfall. Second, the amount of sunlight that is received. Now, amount of sunlight, if it is received all year long, rainfall is also happening all year long, trees will be evergreen. But if it is happening, say for example, monsoonal climate is there, so trees will shed their leaves in a certain point of time. No? Then they will have new leaves. Then it will become green when there will be rainfall. Okay, in a particular time. So it cannot be evergreen. So all of this is impacted by mainly two things. Okay, soil is also influencing it. Soil also gets influenced because of the amount of rainfall and the amount of sunlight that is being received. If it is received in a particular month, if there is a winter season as well, if there is no winter season, if there is all year there is a sunlight. If you go to Kerala and if you go to Haryana, you can see the variation in terms of the trees that are found and the crops that are grown and the types of trees which are there. That is because in Kerala, if you will go, there are only two seasons. One is wet season, second is dry season. Wet season, there will be huge rainfall. Dry season, there will be less rainfall. Summer will be all year long. But in Haryana, there is not only two seasons. There will be autumn, there will be winter, there will be summer, spring. So there are four seasons. Okay. Why so? Because there is not year long sunlight presence because of the geography. If you see, if you have read Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, those are not just lines. Those are influencing the geography. You have to go, if you are reading geography, also go deeply. And if you attain concept once, then you have mastered it. Then it will not take a lot of time to revise and grasp it. One thing that people ask me, sir, once I have seen some people are clearing prelims again and again, mains again and again, because their basics are very strong. They will take hardly 10-15 days to just see if something new has happened in current affairs. They will read it, they will revise their own notes in 2-3 days, and they will go and they will clear. I have also done like this. In 10 days, 12 days, I have cleared prelims. After giving interview, there was 10-15 days gap. I went and I cleared it. So because we have good foundation. So that is why you need to build your foundation. Don't go behind resources. Again, I am giving a lecture. Okay. Now, a buffering capacity of Earth. What is buffering capacity? See, most of the organisms that live on Earth, they live mostly on neutral pH. So Earth is trying to maintain that pH of 7. No, pH of 7 is maintained. How it is maintained? Through the cycle, the ecological cycle which is there. That is how they are trying to buffer. And you must have seen save soil, all of this, how there is the amount of acid which is increasing in the soil. These are all concepts in geography. I hope you all have read geography, then you must have read all these concepts. Otherwise, it will become difficult in the prelims examination. I will, because geography and environment are interrelated. So I will highlight you these all things you must know. Okay. These are the problems which our soils are facing. So buffering capacity is trying to maintain that pH, neutral pH, because it will help most of the organisms that live on Earth. Okay. Salinity, I was talking about different types of crocodile. So some have more capacity, some have less capacity. Okay, so the organism which can tolerate a wide range of salinities, they are called as euryhaline. Euryhaline. And organisms which have a restricted or narrow range of salinity, they are called as stenohaline. Steno means static. Okay, Uri means no. Uri means vast. Okay, these are coming from different languages. That's why we find difficulty. Some are coming from Latin. Latin is inspiring a lot of terminologies of environment. Greek, French. Okay, now, there is a term which is called as ecological succession. I was talking about Darwin. So, ecological succession is something which is related to Darwinism. Now, ecological succession is if you see there is a place where ecosystem is being developed in some time, and when ecosystem will develop, naturally there will not be tigers coming in the very initial years. There will be gradual development. There will be small microorganisms. They will try to break the rock, make soil. Plants will come. Then small organisms. Then bigger organism. Then top predators. It won't happen that suddenly there will be tigers coming. No, so this is a gradual process. That's how the life on earth came. Life on earth came in this manner only. So further it is divided into two parts. One is called as primary succession, second is called as secondary succession. So primary means where no life is there, lifeless areas. And there is even no soil. So what happened? There are natural processes which makes this primary succession possible. You must have heard this volcano has erupted. Now we were reading Map to Mark series. We were talking about Mount Merapi a lot. So volcanic eruptions, glacier retreat, all this process helps in primary succession. And first thing which will come will be lichens and mosses. They will go on the bare rock and they will break it. They will form the soil which is needed. They will be the ones. Okay, these are called as the pioneer species. The first one. From pioneer, there will be intermediate and then there will be climax community when there will be a sort of equilibrium. Then comes the second type, which is called a secondary succession. Occurs after a disturbance. Now, there are wildfires. Due to farming activity, there can be disturbance. Soil is already there. In primary succession, there is no soil. In secondary succession, there is soil. So if there is a forest fire in Yellowstone National Park, say for example, any national park, then fast growing plants will emerge. Grasses, you will see grasses grow everywhere. These are fast growing plants. They will emerge first. Then there will be shrubs, then there will be later pine trees. So this is the gradual. You will see grass growing anywhere. You know? With a little amount of, zero amount of care also they grow. Okay. So these are the ones which makes climax community possible to come. The pioneer species has to come and invade. That is very important. Then there will be intermediate community and then there will be community. Climax community may there will be equilibrium. Okay. Now there is autogenic and allogenic, nothing else. Autogenic means this is brought by the living inhabitant of a particular place. Allogenic means outer elements, outer habitants have brought this process. Auto means by yourself, allo means by outer forces. This is the only difference. Now, hydrarchs and xerarchs are further classified. Hydrarch means the succession which is taking place in wetter areas. Xerarch means the succession taking place in drier areas. Okay. And homeostasis is the process through which an ecosystem balances the equilibrium in terms of the condition. Now we were talking about pH. So pH is also condition. Okay, moisture, humidity, all of this an ecosystem maintains it. They regulate it so that the species structure and their functions can happen. This is the capacity of ecosystem. They are self-regulating it, which is very important. If any society has to also survive, you must have read about society. Society's basic function is to self-regulate. Otherwise, society will perish. They have to regulate. They make their customs, their rituals, their ethics, their values, their no, whatever you call it, okay, to self-regulate, so that they are not perishing. They also evolve. The society which doesn't evolve, they become fossilized and they perish. Okay, Indus Valley civilization was not able to flourish because of many things. Why? It was not able to uh, maintain its urban nature. Urban nature means, urban means what is the difference between a city and a village? Village tries to maintain the past cultures, ethos, and values. Cities try to imbibe new values in culture and scientific progress. This is the only difference. So cities are necessary if a civilization has to progress. Okay, so this is the thing which is done in ecosystem also. See, every the how the earth is processing now, a society is also progressing, a family is also progressing, a family also has to maintain itself. Your father, your mother, some father may be an economist, he's trying to maintain the finance of your home. So similar things happens in a ecosystem as well. Now you must have read these terms, different types of species. See, some species name itself will say you the meaning. Keystone means it plays a key role in the it plays a key role in a particular ecosystem. Very important role. That will be called as keystone species. Indicator means that is useful to know the status of that ecosystem. Okay, and umbrella means that if that species gets harmed, there can be many species that will get harmed. But there are two more. One is called as flexi species. So if I have select, say for example, Nilgiri Tahar as a brand ambassador of the forest in the Nilgiri mountain, as an icon, as a symbol. You must have seen a giant panda used a lot by the WWF organization as well for wildlife conservation to protect the China's bamboo forest. They are endangered. They are very popular. They may or may not be keystone species, but they are chosen as an ambassador, as an icon, as a symbol for a habitat, for a campaign, for an environmental cause. The purpose can be different, but they are selected as an ambassador. They may or may not be keystone species. Giant panda is a kind of a flagship species. Then there are some priority species. They are given importance because they have huge importance in terms of culture, in terms of ecology, in terms of their economic importance as well. There can be varied reason. They are given priority, and it's a WWF term. Okay, and it's simply used by WWF for planning, for communication with the state, communication with people who are trying to conserve it. Okay, so there is an example of bees. Bees are priority species due to their role in pollination, which is very, very crucial in terms of ecological maintenance and vital for food security, agriculture. So it has a role in terms of ecology and economy as well. That is why they are priority species. Keystone species, as I discussed, they play a very key or important or essential role, sorry, in the structure, functioning, or productivity of a particular habitat or ecosystem. Like there are African elephants. So what they do, in savannas, big trees they will knock down. They will clear the shrubs. It will help to maintain the habitat. And other animals like zebras and antelopes will be able to survive because of the activities that are done by the elephants. Then there are indicator species. So they are chosen as an indicator for the changes which can happen to identify the status of ecosystem. Corals are one of the biggest indicator to understand what is happening in the ocean in terms of if ocean temperature is increasing, if salinity is increasing, acidity, it is becoming more and more acid. So corals are, that is why very important. If there is a bleaching of coral reefs, we will know if the temperature of ocean is increasing, if the salinity is increasing or not. We will definitely know it. So this is something which is very, very important. That is why we want to Now, maintain the corals. Corals play a very important role, crucial role. An umbrella species, as I told you, if that species is no longer surviving, the status of other species will also go in a negative manner. It is indirectly protecting many other species. That is why it is called as umbrella. Now, how umbrella is protecting you, it may protect. We often say that father acts as umbrella of a family because he protects children's wife, etc., dependent people. Okay, if he's a breadwinner, so umbrella species acts like that. So tigers, say for example, if tigers are gone, the status of deer, birds, insects, etc., may also get threatened because the tigers are the apex predator. They are not regulating the cycle, the ecological cycle in the habitat. Tigers are very important. Tigers are not only important because they are no, they are roaring very high and this and that, they look very good. No, just because they have a huge role to play. They are apex predator in the ecosystem. That is what you need to understand. That is how you need to understand different terms. Now, different species interact in different manner. Mutualism, like two friends are there. If you both are benefiting each other, this is called as mutualism. Bees and flowering plants, they both benefit each other. Bees will get food, no, nectar for food, while plants will get pollinated. If two friends are there, okay, one friend is just taking benefit of other, so he is though getting benefited, but the other friend is not getting benefited. Expense means he's extracting, he's harming. Okay, so this is called as parasitism. You must have seen on dogs, there are many a times ticks. So ticks are feeding on the dog's blood, harming the dog. Dog is not getting anything. Predation is predation is when one species is just killing the other species for food. Lions, if they are killing zebras for food, it is called as predation. That is why they are called as predator. Competition, if there is a ecosystem, two species are there and they have same food, and food will be limited and they both are competing. Okay, it can happen that competition is within the same species, like two lions are fighting over a prey, or between different species, like cheetahs and hyenas often compete for prey. So competition is something which you can see naturally in the environment. There is called as commensalism. Commensalism is that if one is getting benefited, other is unaffected. Now, there are barnacles on whales. So barnacles gets a place to live and access to food, while the whale is not getting affected positively or negatively. This is called as commensalism. There is another interaction which is called as amensalism, where one species is harmed while the other is unaffected. You will see that large trees, I was talking about rainforest, so large trees often they grow so large, they are blocking the sunlight which are required for the smaller plants. That is why they struggle to grow in rainforest. And then there is neutralism. Two species are interacting but neither is affecting anyway, whether it is positive or negative. So a bird nesting in a tree without impacting the tree. Okay, you may say that okay, nesting the tree, it's benefiting the bird. Okay, but this is not biologically, it is not benefiting. So it's something which you are doing, but you are not getting biologically benefited. You are not getting food out of that. Okay, you're just living. You can live on the branch of tree without affecting you. You can move from one branch to another branch. Okay, so it's, in a simple term, neutralism means no benefit, no disadvantage. The term is neutralism. So these are the basic interactions. Now there is a food chain and food web. So food web is the natural organization which exists in real time. Food chain is something which we have made to just understand. It is not something which is happening. A food chain doesn't exist in naturally. There are complex, huge amount of food chains which are interacting with each other. So in a natural environment, there will be a food web. Food chain is a linear sequence, just we make for understanding. that shows how energy is traveling from one trophic level to another trophic level in an ecosystem. So this is called as food chain. But in an ideal environment, in anywhere, there is a food web, because food chains are interconnected. Okay, food chains are interconnected, and together it is called as a food web. Now, what are the components of food chain? We were discussing about producers. So we talked about the chemotrophs, we talked about the plants. Okay, so they are the ones which are converting sunlight into energy, maybe, and or maybe they are doing oxidation. So these are called as the producers, autotrophs. Then comes the consumers, which are further divided into three parts: primary consumers, secondary consumer, and tertiary consumers. Herbivores, which are directly eating the plants, like deers, like rabbits. Secondary consumers are the carnivores, which are feeding on the herbivores, the frogs, the small fishes, and then the tertiary, the top carnivores, which are feeding on the secondary consumers, like the apex predators, lions. Okay, they can be hawks. Decomposers, we have talked about, they break down the dead organisms, and that helps in recycling the nutrients, which is like fungi, bacteria. They help in the nutrient cycling. You must have heard about the nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, carbon dioxide cycle. So these helps in that process. Decomposers. Then the types of food chains. So mainly there are three types of food chain. One which starts from the grasses is called as the grazing food chain. One which starts from the dead organic matter is called as detritus food chains. And one which involves the parasites that derive energy from a host is called as parasitic food chain. This is the only difference which you need to understand. So in a grazing food chain, there will be grass, there will be grasshoppers. Grasshoppers are eaten by frog, frogs are eaten by snakes, snakes are eaten by hawk. This is called as grazing food chain. Detritus will start from dead leaves, earthworm, earthworms are eaten by bird, then fox. Parasitic will be different. Trees, insects, parasitic fungi. Parasitic fungi will not live alone. They will be living in a host. So that is the process which is in the parasitic food chain. Now food chains, as I told you, are interconnected. Naturally, there will be only food web. There will not be any food chain. There will be food web. Now, in each trophic level, there is a 10% law which works. That is, what will be produced by plants, only 10% will go to herbivores. From herbivores, only 10% will go to the primary uh, carnivores, not the top carnivores, the secondary consumers, which we often say, 10%. Then only 10% out of that will go to the tertiary consumers, which are the apex predators. That is why you will see the population of apex predator will be often lesser compared to the herbivores, and it will be also comparatively lesser many majority of the times, because of the amount of energy that is left. Amount of energy is left is less. Okay, and we need energy to survive. We will read about pyramids, then we will discuss this concept in greater detail, but this is something which you can understand as of now. We will study the pyramids of number, pyramids of energy, etc. soon. Then we will understand how it varies and how in different ecosystems it can vary. Okay, but 10% rule you have to understand. Pyramid of energy will never be inverted because only 10% is going. We will read it in a bit detail. Comes ecological pyramid. So it is a kind of a geographical presentation that is showing the relationship between trophic levels, different trophic levels. Now we just now study the different trophic levels. So pyramid of numbers will represent the number of individuals which are there at each trophic level in an ecosystem. It can be upright, it can be inverted. So the basic type of pyramid is pyramid of biomass. That is the total mass of living organisms at each trophic level. It can be measured in grams or kilograms per unit area. It can be upright or inverted. When it will be upright, in a basic terrestrial ecosystems, the plants have the highest biomass. Then deer will be having lesser, carnivores will be having even lesser. It will be inverted in an aquatic ecosystems. Because the phytoplanktons are very less in weight, in terms of weight, that is why they have less biomass compared to a zooplankton, but they reproduce rapidly to support the food chain. Since the reproduction process is happening very very fast, that is why they are able to support the food chain, but the structure is inverted. Pyramid of energy will be always upright, because the amount of energy that will go to the abaotropic level will be always lesser. 10% law will work. 10% law will work. Okay. And then there is a process which is called as bioaccumulation. There is a two process. One is called as bioaccumulation. Second is called as biomagnification. Okay, so if in an organism there is a gradual accumulation of toxic substances like heavy metals, pesticides over a long time, it is called as bioaccumulation. Biomagnification is when a heavy metal travels from one organism to another organism to another organisms, its concentration increases. That is why heavy metals are dangerous. Heavy metals are dangerous for species because it biomagnifies. It becomes more dangerous and more dangerous. This is called as biomagnification. That is why you will often see now we are measuring BOD, biological oxygen demand. Now that is we are trying to test the status of a river status. And you must have read about a very famous conservationist, and he had done the tests on the Ganges river, and he found that there is a high amount of fecal which is present in the Ganges. So this is the status. And this is we need to understand. Fishes have been found to have a high amount of heavy metals. From where it is coming? It is coming from our industries. Industries are not trying to now process the waste. Just directly it is going into the water bodies, and then slowly it enters to the oceans, etc. And it is destroying because it gets biomagnified. It gets biomagnified. Okay. Now there are different nutrient cycles. As I was talking about different bacterias, we were discussing that how they play a role. Now how they are trying to break different compounds, dead bodies. So they play a very immense role. They help in a process of recycling essential elements that are very very essential for our for our existence, for existence of all the flora and fauna. Flora and fauna both are dependent on this. Okay, so there are mainly two ways these nutrients gets recycled in the environment. One is through gaseous forms, second is through the sedimentary cycles that involves the rocks, which is called as the sedimentary cycles. Okay, gaseous cycles often involves like things like carbon or nitrogen. Sedimentary cycles involves things like phosphorus and sulfur. Okay, now, one of the very, very important cycle is our nitrogen cycle that we need to go and study in a bit deep. So what happens is that there are simple steps. First, what happens is there are nitrogen fixation bacteria. You must have heard about rhizobium, which is there in plant roots. Okay, or lightning process that helps to now fixate the nitrogen. What is fixation of nitrogen? It means the N2 gas which is there in the environment, it becomes ammonia. It becomes ammonia. The formula is NH3. The second process is called as nitrification, where bacteria is turning ammonia to nitrites. Nitrites. Okay, and then nitrates. Nitrite has a formula of NO2, nitrates have a formula of NO3, which plants are able to absorb. Then what happens is there is a process which is called as assimilation. So plants is using the nitrates to build proteins, which who will consume? Animals. Animals will consume, passing the nitrogen up to the food chain. This is called as assimilation process. And then there will be a process which is called as ammonification. Now decomposers like bacteria, fungi, they will break down the dead organisms, the waste, then releasing ammonia back to the soil again. Soil will again get back the ammonia. The last process is called as denitrification. Now there are anaerobic bacteria which converts the nitrates to again N2 gas, returning it to the atmosphere. And this cycle continues and continues. So first there will be nitrogen fixation, which will the bacteria like rhizobium, etc. They will convert the N2 gas, the naturally present N2 gas, to ammonia. Then bacteria will turn ammonia to nitrites, then to nitrates, which plants will absorb. There, then plants will be eaten by the animals. It will get assimilated into up to the food chain, and then there will be ammonification. Further, when the that animal will die, it will be decomposed by the bacteria and fungi. And then again, there are anaerobic bacteria which will convert the nitrates to N2 gas, again releasing it to the environment. Okay, this is called as the nitrogen cycle. This is the cycle which is regulating the nitrogen in the environment. Similarly, if you see the carbon cycle, so the first process is photosynthesis. The plant is absorbing the carbon dioxide from the air, water using the sunlight. And using the sunlight, they are making glucose, food, and they releases oxygen, which we are taking. Then animals will eat the plant, incorporating the carbon into their bodies. Okay, it will go up to the food chain. Then there will be respirations or decompositions. So living beings like us, we will breathe out the carbon dioxide, CO2. Decomposers who break down the dead matters, they are also releasing it. Now there is a process called as combustion. So ancient plants, animals, they form the coal, oil, gas. For a long time it will get converted into the fossil fuels. Burning them again releases the carbon dioxide. Then the last process is called as ocean exchange. Ocean will absorb the CO2. Marine life uses it too, with some sinking as a sediments. This cycle goes on and on and on. That is why again, ocean acidification is directly related to the amount of carbon dioxide that we are releasing, and that is directly related to our greed. How much industrialization more we want. The population which we are increasing, it can be regulated, right? Humans have that consciousness that they can regulate the population, they can safeguard the environment. Humans have a lot of responsibility over the environment because we have consciousness, we can affect other organisms in a much higher scale. So that is why it is often you will see the carbons, credits, etc., everything evolved because the amount of carbon will directly impact the temperature of earth as well. And if the temperature of earth changes to a level that the humans are not able to regulate their process to survive, the life on the earth may get destroyed as well. So this is something which we need to understand. It is not environmental change in environment is not something theoretical. There are already islands which are getting dismantled, destroyed because of it. And bigger cities like even Mumbai are brink on these destructions. It will affect each one of us. That is why it is very, very important that we work on the principle of Mahatma Gandhi. Earth has enough for the need, but not for the greed. This is not something which is theoretical. People say that we are not changing. Environment is not changing. We are changing. These are bad misnomers. Environment is really changing. Go to the mountain. See the number of cloud bursts that are coming, the number of extreme disasters that are coming, the Punjab flood, the Kerala flood, everything which is coming, it is because of the anthropogenic activities that is breaking, distorting these cycles. Okay, that is why all these processes are happening. Now let's understand another very important cycle, phosphorus cycle. Now, phosphorus cycle, as I told you, was a sedimentary process. So naturally, it will start from weathering. Weathering means rocks are breaking down via rainfall, via huge wind, via bacteria. That releases the phosphate. Phosphate has a formula of PO4 into soil and water. Now these are taken first by the plants. Roots will absorb the soluble phosphates to grow. Okay, plants will form organic compounds, and then naturally plants will be consumed by animals. Okay, and they incorporate phosphorus into the tissues. When we die, microbes break down the waste that we excrete and the dead matters also when we die. Okay, returning the inorganic phosphates again to the soil, and then phosphates flow to ocean, sink as sediments, form new rocks over time. This process is also happening in the environment. The more amount of anthropogenic activity will happen, the more this cycle will also get distorted. So we need to understand that the environment and the nature is the master. They are the God. These processes are the God. These are the creators. These get destroyed. No creator that man has made. I am saying consciously men because women were not involved in formation of religious processes. They were always discarded in the part of history. So men who has made the religion and the religious gods, they will not be able to save this earth. So the nature, the mother earth is the ultimate creator and the God. The people Indus Valley civilization used to worship and the previous civilization used to worship. These are the ultimate things. And we need to protect the environment. We need to protect the trees and plants. You see, all the processes, all the cycles that we are reading, it is going through what? It is going through plants. It is going through plants. And plants are most important. If you are saying that, okay, this place has a lot of heat and this and that, grow trees in that place. See how the trees will reduce the temperature. See how the trees will make your air better. See how the trees will increase the groundwater. It will bless you in many ways. Trees are the best creation of nature. Then there is a sulfur cycle. It also starts with naturally with weathering. Rocks will break down, release sulfur as sulfides or sulfates into soil water. Then it gets oxidized. Sulfides gets oxidized to sulfates. And it happens via air or bacteria, making it available to plant. Plant will consume it. Then it will go to above to the food chain in the tropic level. Then it will be decomposed by anaerobic bacteria. It reduces sulfates back, and then you will see volcanic and atmospheric reactions that happens, volcanic eruptions, etc. So again it returns to the volcanoes, to the earth. It further goes down inside the earth. So this process goes on and on. These cycles we are reading, there are so many cycles which are naturally happening on the environment on earth. If any one cycle gets distorted because of anthropogenic activity, there will be widespread changes, including the things like where there were droughts, now there floods are coming. Naturally, the areas which were known for droughts and not having floods will have floods. Areas which were not known for earthquakes, we will see earthquakes happening. All these things will happen. Areas where cyclones used to come less, there will be more cyclones. Like Arabian Sea were not known for having cyclones. Now, cyclones in Arabian Seas are increasing in numbers. All of this is happening because of the distortion of these cycles. These cycles are the most important. And when you try to safeguard these cycles, this is for future. This is called as nothing but sustainable development. Sustainable development. Now there are carbon types. Carbon types which are based on colors. Okay, just read it quickly. It's not something which is very, very important. Just see it quickly. So black carbon. Black carbon, when we drive a car, we drive a bike, we are using fossil fuels. Okay, that gets burned. And then black carbon is released. It is a major contribution for global warming. Major contribution. This is a soot from incomplete combustion, and it absorbs light, it warms the climate. This is something which is warming the climate. Then comes the brown carbon. So what happens when organic aerosols from biomass burn gets released? Brown carbons comes to the environment. They absorb ultraviolet rays. Again, they are very harmful. It again contributes to global warming. There is blue carbon that is stored in the marine ecosystem, like mangroves, salt marshes, seagrasses. They store it. This is called as blue carbon. There is green carbon that is stored in the terrestrial ecosystems, like forest and other land-based vegetation. There is teal carbon, which is stored in the inland freshwater wetlands like swamps, marshes, peatlands. They also store a lot and lot of carbon. Peatlands store massive amount of carbon. Then there is purple carbon, carbon that is derived from industrial emissions or captured from the air. So industrial emissions is something like factories, no, or you are directly capturing air. In this process, the purple carbon will be released. Then there is gray carbon, carbon that is emitted again from the industrial processes and stored in the fossil fuel. Fossil fuel stores a lot of gray carbon. Red carbon that is released from biological particles on snow and ice, etc. That is called as the red carbon. Snow and ice microbes reducing the albedo, and that accelerates the melting of glaciers. This is a question which was asked by UPSC, I think in 2016 or 17. How albedo is something which is related to if albedo gets reduced, how the melting of glaciers is fastened. Again, this is a concept which you need to read. Very important. If you are reading geography, just try to develop concepts. I have listened from so many students, they are saying, sir, maps are fetching us more marks. Should we need to study the physical geography? I said, physical geography will impact your environment also. So do read it. Geography, history, and polity, these three subjects are impacting many other subjects. Okay, polity is impacting our economy also. In economy also, we read a lot of things which are related to laws, rules, and regulations. And history and geography are impacting every subject. History is impacting your society, your anthropology, so many things, your ethics. So this is why these subjects are very, very important, and you need to develop a good concept now for this. So this is something which we discussed in today's class. And just for a quick reminder, if you are attending these classes and revising our materials, which we have provided, the static and current affairs, revision is important. Don't ask me, sir, is it sufficient? If you are able to retain 90% of the content which you are discussing through our lectures and notes, I can vouch, and you are practicing question, I can vouch, you will never get less than 75 or 80% in environment. But attaining 80% or 90%, do you know how much revision it will need? 3 to 4 revisions. Huge amount of practice. That is required. Both the things are needed. Then only you will be able to do so. What book I used to read? I used to read a same book. Shankar. Same book for every year. Same book. And some current affair, one current affair compilation, revising it 3 to 4 times. As I was able to score very good marks in environment. I was not so good in terms of geography. I was not so blessed, so I worked very hard for geography. Okay, and then it helped me in environment also. History came naturally to me, science came naturally to me, economy came naturally to me, but not geography. So I had to read very patiently. And if you know that this is not coming naturally to you, you revise it more, you work harder, you read it more, you will get it. Nothing is impossible in this world. Attitude makes a huge difference. Only attitude will make you the person who will become Dr. Kalam or Osama bin Laden, or someone who is just criticizing the family, society, religion, not doing anything worthwhile. So attitude, make your attitude such that you are able to do things. And like problems are everywhere. It's just the difference of attitude that will make you successful. A real success will come in life when you are fighting with your hiccups and not just bowing down in front of it. Okay. So I hope my students were able to understand the concepts. Arpit, Abhishek, Aisha, Lakshmi, Pulkit, Ramani, Saurav. Confirm in chat box. Thank you, my dear friends. Only one advice from my side. Whatever we study now today, just try to revise it. Today itself, 15-20 minutes it will take, just revise it. It will get solidified. That will be only my advice. Thank you, Saurav. Thank you, Ramni. Thank you, Arpit. Thank you. Take care of yourself.